In our arts integration webinar series, we are going to be talking about planning and collaboration. And we're delighted that you are all here. I expect as we continue through the next minutes, more people will be joining us, and I know that many will be going to the archive as well. I'm really delighted that tonight we have some special guests with us to talk about planning and collaboration. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them in just a second. But as we think about collaboration, the nature of our work as arts integration teachers and teaching artists and administrators is collaborative. It's kind of as a teaching artist, you have particular things that you want to do and you can do. And as a teacher and administrator, or an organization, you have things that you want to have happen in the most effective and inspiring way possible. By getting together the perfect alignment between the teaching artist's needs, wants, abilities, and where the curriculum needs to be going. That alignment between the arts and the curriculum is what we are all about in arts integration. And when we can get these two planets aligned, that's when the magic begins. And tonight our special guests are doing the magic every day. Debbie Fahmie is the Fine Arts Coordinator of the Osceola County Schools. And we know that just that title doesn't quite do justice to her. She started out as an elementary music teacher where she really excelled, was a finalist for the Florida Teacher of the Year. She led her school over in Osceola County. She led her school to become a National School of Distinction in Arts Education that was named by the Kennedy Center. She is a member of the United Arts of Central Florida Board, and she's a community leader. She is an activist and a person who is really making a difference in her community. She advocates for arts education every day. She shows up at things, she shares, and she shines. So Debbie, we are delighted to have you with us tonight, and I'd like for you just to say a couple words by way of introduction of yourself. You there, Debbie? Oh, I see. Okay, Debbie, you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I would just like everybody to know that everything I know I learned from Dr. Mary Palmer. So if any of that was true, that's all due to Mary and to just surrounding myself with wonderful people. So I think there's many of you on this call who have taught me so much. But in my position as the fine arts person here in Osceola County, I have really realized the importance and the power of creating partnerships. And so I'm thrilled to see the work that FAAE is doing in trying to bring us all together. So I thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. We also have Donna Wissinger with us, and Donna is based in Clay County, but she actually is a teaching artist who's going out into the world and taking her work. She started out as a professional flutist. She's now on the Florida artist roster by the state of Florida. She has founded a company that she calls Arts Out Loud, and it is her approach. And so I'm going to move us on to the next slide so Donna can tell us a little bit more about herself.
Hi, I'm Donna Wissinger, concert flutist and teaching artist. I'm sorry I'm not with you in webinar person, but I'm surely with you in spirit. And I commend all of you for taking this extraordinary journey.
Thank you, Donna. And Donna's going to go on and tell us a little bit more.
Began in 1986. Peter Pan when you need him. It began during my bicycle tour, in which I cycled 2,000 miles from New York City to Miami. I played about 82 concerts to demonstrate the common habits of excellence in music and sports. One stop was in North Carolina, was a hospital for Alzheimer's patients. Over 100 people were admitted to the room, silent, unresponsive, unable to eat or talk or do anything for themselves. For 45 minutes, no clapping, no nodding. Then I began to play my music. Within the pins, arose. Music translated the deep breaths of human function, flowed out of the deep wellspring of human life. With that, I understood that as a teaching artist, I could have a far greater impact upon others as I wrote my life story, greater than playing the concert stage. The question now is, how do I make sure I get to do what I love? In other words, how do I get hired? Word of mouth. Never let a chance go by to be your best. Be brilliant when it's possible. Strive for the highest quality of work and relevance of subject matter to students' interest in study. In other words, I try to make sure that what I do matters. It's kind of like the Campbell soup of old. One part, engage. In conversation, you have to be engaging. Let your light shine. Also determine the essence of what you offer. What is it you would really like the students to understand? You have to practice saying it so that you land the message of your work with the fewest words, yet you display the depth and the wealth of your knowledge. One part is marketing. Marketing is filling a need. Find the need they believe they have, or be clever enough to suggest a need they didn't know they had. That's the aha. In this case, you get hired. How do you determine these? You ask questions and you listen. You have to listen. Don't form ideas while someone else is talking. Listen. Above all, be engaging and market. Fill a need, and then describe it well.
So that description often is like practicing an elevator speech where you have a minute or two between floors to get your point across to the person that's riding in that elevator with you. And so synthesizing what it is that you can give in just a short period of time is very important. Likewise, if you're the person doing the hiring, then it's important for you to be able to have your needs synthesized so that you can communicate them in the same short time frame. Now let's go back, let's just take a step back and let's ask Debbie to share with us why she hires a teaching artist. She's hired lots of them and worked with lots of teaching artists. Why do you do it, Debbie? Debbie, I think we couldn't hear you.
Whoop. Okay, I think I just got unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Boy, I bet my husband wishes he had that mute button as well. I think that, I know that bringing in a visiting artist just brings that wow factor to the students. It bumps up the experience and the learning of the students to a higher level, something that as a classroom teacher is impossible to do even with the greatest DVD of some kind of a performing artist. There's just nothing that can replace a living, breathing artist live and in person within the classroom right there with the students, not just performing for the students but interacting with the students, bringing the artistry of the students out from, bringing their own artistry out. It gives students, besides exposing them to the careers of the artists, I think it helps students to envision seeing their own potential that they have to shape their own artistic destiny. I particularly like when visiting artists will come into, let's say, a fourth grade classroom and relate to the students. When I was in fourth grade, I remember sitting in my music room or my visual art classroom and kind of relating those personal experiences that they had that helped mold them. I think it just gets our students kind of on new pathways, thinking and inspiring them to develop their own artistic potential. Um, it also helps to validate everything that the arts teacher is telling them. We had one of the Dallas Brass, or actually all of the Dallas Brass came in to one of our high schools and was working with the band students there. And they said exactly the same thing that the band director has been saying for 4 years, but them saying it in a 5-minute speech meant more than the band director saying it for 4 years. It absolutely validated everything because it was the Dallas Brass and they were cool. When the visiting artist goes into a regular classroom, not an arts classroom, but a regular classroom, they're able to bring connections of all of the other forms of education that the students are learning. They're able to connect it to the artistic and the aesthetic experience, and it just helps to bring that wow factor into everything that happens within that classroom.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, now we've been talking about hiring a teaching artist, whether it's from the point of view of the teaching artist or from the point of view of the consumer of these skills. Let's take a minute and go to the chat and share your own thoughts about what we've just been talking about. So give us some ideas. What are highlights for you and what you've heard or in your own thinking related to that? So just take a minute to write some thoughts. Good. I see someone who is really feeling that this whole idea of inspiration was really important. Someone, that wow factor. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to move on and think about the whole idea of collaboration. Now here, when we're talking about collaboration, we're talking about how do you decide what to teach. Now that decision isn't really only one that belongs to the teaching artist or to the teacher, but it's a joint decision. It's the two parties working together to decide what to teach. So Debbie, what do you think? How do you decide what's going to happen in that residency?
Well, collaboration to me basically means really good communication between both teacher and visiting artist, and also a certain amount of relationship building. When I think of relationship building, all good relationships mean that both parties understand the needs of both sides and also what each side has to offer. And so when I talk to a visiting artist, a potential visiting artist, I want them to understand what our needs are and what we bring to the plate, as well as I want to understand what their needs are in order to have a successful artist visit in my classroom or a visit in a school, what their needs are to make it successful, and what they have to offer. And I think it takes a little bit of relationship developing. I've never really brought in a visiting artist who I didn't feel like I knew pretty well. I had seen them in action. I had heard from lots of people who had been affected by what the work they had done in other places. There's an awful lot of communication that has to go back and forth in the planning stages. Did you want me to get into the planning yet, or just basically the collaboration part?
Go ahead into the planning, sure.
Well, I think that in addition...
Actually, Debbie, I'm sorry. Let's just hold on that for a second.
Okay, gotcha.
Let's go on to hear what Donna has to say about, okay, why is somebody going to hire me? What makes me a standout? And when we're talking here about me, we're not really talking about Donna per se, but she's going to be talking about why me.
It's like constantly peeling back the cover to see what is inside. What do they need, and how do you brilliantly fill that need? Seems to be like a mixture of information and passion. It takes both in my experience. And the activities that you do or the anecdotal evidence can follow. If you just say it's great or the students love it or we have fun, it doesn't quite get the job done. You really have to know what it is you offer and how people move it.
Peeling away the skin so that we get down to the essence of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
Well, how do you decide what to include in a residency? I cannot emphasize enough. Ask questions and listen. This is tricky in the beginning stages of learning the work of a TA. I remember so often feeling that I had only one program to offer. One size fits all. I was selling what I could do, not necessarily what they needed. Be confident that as an artist, you can offer far more than you know you know. The wealth is built into the art form. So dig. Know where to dig by listening.
And so we are not into that moo-moo mentality of old where one size fit all. We are really going to designing things that meet the particular needs of both parties here.
The nitty-gritty essential details. For whom? What grade matters? If you don't already know the maturity level and the knowledge of the grade or age, find people who do, i.e. teachers. If you reinforce or expand upon exactly what the teachers are teaching using similar words and references, that word of mouth just be bigger than Pinocchio's nose. And what are the ideal outcomes? Where are the students now, and where do the teachers want them to be? Skills and passions does the teacher bring? Everyone wants to be affirmed and given the chance to be part of the story. And especially, how is this part of your story? The story you are currently writing and hope to write. It's personal. It's personal.
Yeah, so really these personal intersections are a very important part of making it work. Where do the two sides come together and how do they relate to one another and to the subject matter that they're working
What's hot? Well, I'm sure you know that bullying is hot. Because of that, in describing Beowulf, A Tale of Courage and Honor, I plugged into the bullying hotspot. Here's a little marketing vignette. Oh, you'll love Beowulf. Beowulf is the first and most descriptive work in the English language. Potential presenter, like look. Beowulf has curriculum ties to language arts, 3rd and 5th and 8th grade. You know, alliteration, metaphor, and kennings. Yawn. It is world literature and cultural studies. It's about bullying. Tired. Yes, of course, all of the attributes I mentioned recommend Beowulf. And there's tremendous focus on bullying and the courage to stand up to it. Get in the door through the hot spots, then work your magic.
Okay, Donna, hot spots and kind of using the lingo of the moment.
Yeah, pre-planning. Who's your main contact? And in your email, try to notice who else has been copied on the communications. Use the reply all if it feels appropriate. It cannot be said enough. Find out where the students are in knowledge and skill relevant to them. In one 14-week residency, I started losing hair. I did not know the profile of the students. Big lesson. Otherwise, I cannot say I've had too many issues. There was one big one within the last 4 years. A colleague broke the golden rule. She began a program before students were absolutely quiet. It's a big recipe for disaster. The program is with 400 middle school students in a cafetorium, and they are dissing even their assistant principals. Never begin your work before the situation is as you would like it. I know I have a weak stomach. Kindergarten and first graders need teachers in attendance who can deal with extreme running noses, upset stomachs, or any bathroom accidents. Avoid the problem. Take care of them beforehand.
Okay, so what's the teacher's part and what's the teaching artist's part?
Find out what the teachers would like the students to know, and then help them figure out how the students can demonstrate their understanding through an art form. Kind of refers back to marketing, doesn't it? Find the need and fill it. Also discover how much a teacher is willing and, most importantly, able to do in preparation, review, or addition to your work. I like to build my programs as if they cannot do anything. Be delighted if they can. It's the best of all worlds if they are able to devote time in partnership with you. In one 14-week residency, I started to lose hair. I did not know.
I think she already lost that hair, didn't she?
You are those you are specifically seeing so that everyone is impacted by the excitement of the work. Get the word out so everyone wishes they could see you. Or the partners. Know who sponsored you. Always, always try to meet and greet the administration and those who are responsible for engaging you, and thank them. Get the word out there to parents, to everyone in the community. I like the drive-line parents to see that I am there. They will likely hear about the program after school, and they will feel part of the loop. In other words, you help them connect to their children, and that big mouth, the word of mouth, just got bigger. Have a good time working with the students on the morning show. They will never forget it. And the excitement about the program will be launched if it hasn't already been set in motion. Don't depend upon others to think about these things. You have to do it. So get it up on the marquee, get on the radio show, get in the newsletter, have it documented. Do all you can to get the word out.
Good. Well, now, before we hear what Debbie has to say about planning, would you please go to the question panel and just indicate what was a high point here of what she said? What matters to you? What are you maybe already doing? What would you like to do? What are some of the key ideas that jumped out at you? Just take a minute and talk to me. Good. I see some responses coming. Great. Planning is essential. Good. Love the idea of letting the parents see you in the car line. Get out there in that car line. Getting the parents to buy in is a big part of our success. Absolutely. The parents are a key audience. So we've got that audience inside of the school that includes the teachers, the kids, the administration, and the parents. We've got that audience outside of the school that includes funders, the community. Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing some more ideas coming in here that we need to really be clear about knowing what we want the kids to know and what we want them to be able to do. Good. All right. Okay, wait, I'm going to just take a look here. We get hired because the students can participate. Yeah, we're making a very active engagement, and that's a key part of what we can offer. So, Debbie, what do you think about planning? Have you got some things you'd like to add?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Beautiful.
Hello? Okay. As I said earlier about the collaboration and communication, during the planning stages, I think that you cannot over-communicate. As a visiting artist, I try to talk a lot with them ahead of time so that we can really know how to best at the school site warm the students up for the artistic experience that they're about to engage in. We want to warm them up, give them a little background, but we also want to develop their curiosity and their yearning so that by the time that the visiting artist shows up on site, they're like, a superstar, even before opening their mouths or playing their instruments or, you know, doing an activity, because the kids have been so warmed up. The worst case scenario, and it has happened, is when miscommunication occurs and somehow the word is not passed on, and all of a sudden third grade teachers are told, hey, we need your kids in the cafetorium in 5 minutes because they're doing some kind of a presentation. That's the very worst case scenario, because it's just not fair to the students. The students are not going to get as much as they could get from that kind of a visit, and it definitely is not fair to the visiting artist. So whether it's a one-day assembly or a longer-term visiting artist situation, I think that the school-based people, through good communication with the visiting artist, can be responsible for really getting the kids ready for this experience, getting the buy-in from all the stakeholders, and that includes people like janitors who have to maybe, you know, work around schedules or something like that. Just communicate, communicate, communicate. You cannot over-communicate. The other thing that I can tell you from firsthand experiences, when a visiting artist has designed materials that we can give to the classroom teachers, whether they be art teachers or regular ed, gen ed classroom teachers, these materials that can be given, offering both pre and post activities to help make the artist's visit more memorable and meaningful to the students. The activities need to be in very user-friendly terms. If you're working with a classroom teacher who is not familiar with, you know, particular art terms, you want to be able to be sure that the message that you communicate is very understandable and easily carried on by the classroom teacher. I've seen some great examples. For instance, the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, when they do their youth concert series, the materials that they provide, the classroom and the music teachers both, are just brilliant in extending the experience that the students have of that 50 minutes that they actually spend with the orchestra. It makes that experience a memory that will last a lifetime, because the students learn so much more than just being in the audience of something that they don't understand. So those materials are really, really crucial. And I think sometimes it's hard for us to expect a visiting artist, an active artist out there, to understand all of the educational needs. And so when they design these kind of materials to give, I recommend that the artist work in collaboration with an educator, or maybe even, like I suggested to Donna when we spoke earlier on, some kind of a teacher advisory board that you run materials through and get suggestions on. I serve on an advisory board for the Orlando Repertory Theater, where they want to make sure that their materials are really teacher user friendly, and so everything they put out is vented through actual teachers. And I think that's just a brilliant concept, and I can't say enough about providing those materials for both pre and post activities to the actual artist residency.
Excellent, Debbie. Thank you so much. I am appreciating so many of you making comments as you're listening, and we've got some great thoughts here. Danielle Young says, I appreciate the focus on the importance of discussion of where students are and what skills or needs they bring to the residency. How tremendously important that is. And Paige Polite tells us, clear goals have to be set for learning. So it's not just about razzle dazzle. We want to be that wow factor, but we have to connect to the learning that's ongoing in the classroom as we're thinking in terms of arts integration here. Teachers in Florida have very clearly defined learning goals for every subject every day. And so we know that that is essential to success for both sides of this team, teachers and artists. Interact with the students with what interests them most, says Pamela Davis. And isn't that the truth? That when we can connect to them, that we are really making the impact that we're trying to make? Well, I say we got to make friends, and we've got to make friends and really get to know each other so that we understand what their needs are and they understand what our needs and capabilities are. So it's a two-way street as we're thinking about arts integration and the connections that we can make. The communication in the school or organization so that everybody knows what's happening. But you know, from the point of view of the artists, the teachers must communicate with them as well, because that communication is what enables the artist to be able to be successful. So the success is really both sides working together and making that success happen. Okay, now we started to talk a little bit about what we might do to follow up and make the feeling last, make the impact and the opportunities that we had during that session with the teaching artist continue to grow. So how about follow-up, Debbie? What does the artist need to do? What do the teachers or administrators need to do? What about that?
Well, I think continue to communicate, really reflect on what happened, dream of what the next step is, perhaps the following year, will there be a follow-up? We've had some things happen in the summer that we keep wanting to develop them and bring them to a different level or in a different direction the following year. So I think continuing that communication within the artist's visit, whether it's a residency or just a full day within the school, it's wonderful to have some kind of a culminating activity where the students really get to celebrate the experiences that they've had with that artist. And I'm thinking that that needs to be documented somehow. Perhaps you could have a student act as a reporter and document it with photography and do a write-up in newsletters and, get the word out about what actually has happened. Document that experience, keep an archive of it, and you want to keep the buzz going about it so that the potential to continue doing more with visiting artists continues. I would just like to say, don't let budgets limit your imagination and desire to utilize a visiting artist. I did that for many years, and somehow I got connected with the right people and partnerships began to blossom, and I've had opportunities happen here in Osceola County that I would have never dreamed would have come true. I can tell you that when you really look at building partnerships, that there are people and organizations out there that want to be a part of something that is dynamic, and bringing an artist residency to children is something dynamic. So if you're in my shoes or you're in the classroom, don't let the fear of how will I ever get the money limit your imagination. Strike up those conversations with the artists that you're hoping to bring in, because a lot of times they've got some resources they can point you in the right direction for. I really do encourage you to think big and dream big and make it happen for those kids.
Great, Debbie. Thank you so much. And I love what Irene Fox has to say. She's saying, I usually have my students write personal letters to the artist about the experience. And that is so valuable to the artist. And maybe we can all kind of go one step further with that and make color photocopies of those letters, laminate them, and put them on the bulletin board where parents will see them. Take them to a meeting where parents will have the opportunity to interact with that. Thank you, Irene, for sharing that idea with us. And Jana Broder says, share it with other schools. Get out there so that other people can think about it. Now, Sherry Levitt is asking, how often should teachers meet with the teaching artist before they enter the classroom to teach a lesson? Debbie, you got some thoughts on that?
I'm not even sure it has to be a meeting. I mean, it could be email. I mean, I've done a lot of email correspondence or just talking, on the phone with the artist. And I don't know that there's, an exact number of times you shouldn't meet. I think the needs would dictate that, and how well you know that visiting artist. Most of the artists that I've had do things I've been pretty well familiar with before I've brought them into Osceola County. So I think spending time getting to know their work even before maybe you start communicating with them would be an important step.
Okay, very good. And so a meeting doesn't necessarily have to mean a physical in-person meeting, although of course we know that that's a great thing and we'd certainly encourage that. But the communication so that you're clear on what the goals are from each side and you are moving forward with that. Very, very good. You know, don't some of you feel like I do that people that you have communicated with via email or even on the telephone that you've communicated with in these sort of distant ways, you still feel like you know them if you've communicated with them and you've been a part of what they're doing. So don't discount the value of that. Irene said invite administrators to the sessions. When you have these teaching artists in your classroom or at the school, be sure the administrator is there as well. Also, Paige tells us posting visiting artist info on the school's website is free and easy advertising. And so that says to the teaching artist, okay, you prepare some materials, hand it to me, ready to go, and we'll do this advertising. And that goes back to the funding question that Debbie was talking about. When we let people know what's happening and what the impact of the work is, that's going to help us as we move toward that funding question. So keep the experience alive. Keep that buzz going, as Debbie said. Now, more things about follow-up from Donna.
It's easy to feel that once we've built our programs, all of that hard work, that our work is done. So we have to go the extra steps of pre-program materials, documentation, and review. Take a good breath. Find out what it will take, and just do it. I promise that you will find the effort is greatly rewarded.
Okay, thank you, Donna. And now Charmiel Walters has tuned in with a comment here that I think is really important. She says, I feel it is important for an artist to do a site visit during a planning meeting in order to troubleshoot any classroom management issues. And we know that classroom management can be an issue from all sides. And so this is a very good suggestion. Thank you, Charmiel. And Sherry is saying communication is very important, and we really, as Debbie said, can't communicate enough.
Okay, so let's help the teachers. We are there to help them be change agents in the lives of children. So let's just go the distance to make the experience the best it can be for all. Interesting. If I find my own work compelling, it seems others find it so as well. If I'm excited by all the new things I'm learning by doing the work, others are as well. My words to myself, every time I do my best gets better. In other words, live fully in your work. Get out of the box and stretch. We are transmitters of life.
Well, get out of the box and stretch. That's what we all want to do, isn't it? And sometimes as we're either a teacher or a teaching artist or a site administrator, when we're in those positions, sometimes it's easier just to repeat what we did on another occasion. But you know, with us on the call tonight is our dear friend, Dr. Stella Sung, who is an outstanding composer who has done all kinds of really interesting things for the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, for ballet companies, for all kinds of things. She's really gotten out of that box and stretched her abilities and her contributions. Risa, she now is head of the digital media program at the University of Central Florida, the project called CREATE, that is a center for research, education, and technology in the arts. And so Stella, would you care to comment on what you've been hearing? Stella, are you still there?
Yes.
Good. Would you care to comment on anything?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I didn't know you could hear me. So I'm just, I was just typing a response to you. Yes, I love it all, and I love Donna's comment about us being transmitters because I think that's very, very true. Love Debbie's comments about all the things that we can do in the classroom and going out. So it's great. I'm enjoying everything. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Stella. And you know, recently Stella has done a wonderful composition that incorporates the work of Norman Rockwell. And so you can see that she's stepping out, as we all have to do. She is a great model for us. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Donna. Thank you all. It's great. Love it.
Now, moving along, Debbie is in the position of to rehire or not. And that's what many of you on this call today are. You're the people who are going to decide whether you're going to rehire or not with a given artist. And so Debbie, how do you decide that you're going to rehire somebody or that once was enough?
Well, I think I look at, was the program that they brought to us really tailored to what our needs were? Kind of going back to that communicating ahead of time what our needs are and what they have to bring to us. Were they the right fit for what we were looking for? I've met, you know, I've utilized some wonderful artists in one situation that wouldn't be the right fit for another situation. So just really looking at how well what they did matched what I was looking to accomplish with this particular group of students. I also look at how long-lasting and memorable the experience was. If it was, you know, just something where the kids were more entertained and it wasn't really life-changing for them, where it brought them to that new level that I spoke about early on in our conversation. I want these experiences to bring the kids to a higher level, to help them even imagine their own potential. Did it do that? Did the artist residency actually do that for us? Or was it something that the kids enjoyed and went home and talked about and perhaps forgot about in a few weeks? So those kind of things are what I really look for the program to have had some kind of a remarkable, memorable effect on the students.
Good. Thank you, Debbie. And you know, to get that remarkable, memorable effect, we probably can go back to some of the earlier comments that we made today. The idea of engaging a large community, not just a classroom where your work is going to be performed, but to go and engage the whole school. Get on the school marquee. Get in the school website. Get in the school newsletter. So be out there. Now, many of you have sent me notes that are saying that we're kind of weighing in on the question here about how many times does the teaching artist need to meet with the classroom teacher before the experience in the classroom. And what we're hearing from the majority of you is that they should make, the teaching artist should make at least one visit so that the groups, the teacher and the artist and the situation can get to know each other and share each other's goals, says Paige. Talking with the artist can give the classroom teacher confidence in presenting the visiting artist and the lesson. Now there's an important idea, the idea of providing confidence and support to the person that's going to be on the front lines the day after you get there and the next day and was there the day before you got there. So working together in that way is going to be very helpful and very important. Well, now let's just take a moment and kind of reflect. What questions do you still have? What key ideas came to you tonight? What was a finding for you, or perhaps a reinforcement and validation of something that is in your own mind? Would you just take another moment and type in that question box what your thoughts are related to key outcome or a finding? Irene Fox has asked if there is a book of information that tells about artists that you can hire in your particular area. Irene, I just unmuted you. Where are you located? What county?
In Melbourne, Florida.
You're in Melbourne, so you're in Brevard County. Now,
Yes.
Over in Brevard County, you have a wonderful cultural alliance, the Brevard Cultural Alliance, and they, in fact, do publish a guide to the artists in your community that are doing teaching artist work. In addition, I know of at least one teaching artist who is on the Florida artist roster, and so that will be helpful to you as well. This project that we are doing is sponsored by the Florida Department of State Division of Cultural Affairs, and they are the group that puts up the teaching artist residency. And we hope that as one of the outcomes in this project, we will also be able to provide a listing of teaching artists who have worked with this program in an in-depth kind of way so that they will have experience that can be recommended by the organization. So stay tuned on further information related to that, because we do hope to put more information in your hands. Let me see. Wajana is, let's see Wajana, a what to expect when I arrive letter and a study guide before the artist comes to your classroom and to your school. Jana, do you want to say anything more about that?
Well, I never go to a school or any location without a letter preceding my arrival that says this is what you can expect when I arrive. And that happens the minute I'm hired. Sometimes that's months in advance, and sometimes that's merely days in advance, but it never goes a time where it doesn't go out. And I also keep on my website a place where they can find a study guide that they can print, and they can give it to every teacher that's involved in my program. As well as in the letter it says what for the janitors to expect, how to set up the chairs prior to my arrival. It has everything they need to know about what the children should expect, what the teachers should expect, and what everyone in the school should expect. The study guide has that as well as the letter that I send. I think it's the most important thing I do.
Excellent, Jana. Thank you so much, and I think that's a great idea. For one thing, it makes Jana kind of a person that's coming into the classroom, and it builds that relationship a little bit further. So thank you for hearing that. Kate liked the idea of having the teaching artist know some possible sources for funding, because often the teaching artists are going to be able to help with funding, even though you might not think of it at this particular time. But it's an area where you can develop your own contacts and your own follow that will be able to help with funding. Great. Well, gee, we've had a lot of great information. Lori George is saying she would like to email teachers and she does email teachers and ask them for feedback on their residency as far as what their students need. She finds that that's a very helpful thing for her in the work that she's doing. So excellent. Thank you so much for that comment, Lori. And we're going to go on because
Thank you.
it becomes time for us to say goodbye.
Helpful in some ways to you. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you think I might be able to help you further. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Debbie. My very best wishes to all of you. Bye for now.
Thank you, Donna. And thank you, Debbie. And Debbie, would you like to kind of give any closing comments for us? Oops, wait a second, Debbie. I'm sorry, Debbie. Would you like to give some closing comments?
Well, I'd like to just say that it was an honor to be asked to share my thoughts and my passions with all of you out there today, and I'm very excited to see the work that is being done in spreading the possibilities and the potentials of the artist residencies, because I have seen firsthand how powerful they can be. So go forth and prosper, everybody. And thank you, Mary, for having me, and Donna for not being right there, but preparing all of your comments and your thoughts for us this evening.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and thank you to both of our special guests. If you all could cheer, I know that you would join me in cheering for these wonderful people who have shared their ideas and work with us. So thank you both, Debbie and Donna. And now it's time for us to be getting ready for webinar 3. Our topic on March 20th is Plan, Deliver, Assess, Reflect. And you know, the truth is, I don't know which of those words is more important, because in fact, all 4 of those aspects are going to be terribly important in being successful as a teaching artist and as a teacher. And so I hope that you'll plan to be with us on March 20th for that webinar as well. But FAAE is really on the move. A lot of great things are happening. If you live in the Central Florida area, I hope you'll join FAAE for the Arts Integration Symposium this Saturday at Davenport School of the Arts. We've also got the Digital Media Festival coming up at the University of Florida Digital Worlds Institute on May 12th. Last year was our first year for the Digital Media Festival, and it was hosted at UCF Create by Dr. Stella Sung, who you heard from a little bit earlier tonight. It's a great opportunity to really look at the impact of digital media in our field and how to be 21st century teachers and artists by utilizing the digital media that's available. And then we've got our FAAE Leadership Summit coming up in Tampa on June 14th through 16th. We have details about all of these programs at FAAE.org. We've got a couple other ways for you to get involved, and I think that there are many on this call who may be particularly interested in the FAAE STAR program. STAR stands for the State Teacher Artist Residency at the Hermitage Artist Retreat in Sarasota. The complete information about that, too, is on the website. And finally, I want to tell you about the deadline for student entries to the Digital Media Challenge. The Digital Media Challenge is an opportunity for children from kindergarten through grade 12 to share their product. The deadline is March 15th for student entries. If you go to the website, you'll see the winners from last year's program. You'll be amazed. One of the overall winners was a first grade child. So it doesn't matter what the age is, it matters what the contribution is, what the quality of that work is. So we hope you'll get involved with some of those things. So finally, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We will be sending you a follow-up survey, and I hope that you will take time to fill that out, because it gives us important information. I know that you had some difficulty hearing Donna tonight, and it was recorded at a low level, I'm afraid, and so you might have had that difficulty, and I apologize for that problem. Thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to hearing from you and to having you as a part of all of the upcoming programs. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.